Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to do another review of a low-end PC that's available for you guys out there. This here is the HP Stream Mini PC. It's a model number 200-010, and we'll just take a quick look around it before we talk about it. Right on the front, you've got two USB 3.0 ports and our power switch. Our SD card reader, your headphone jack, a gigabit Ethernet port, two more for a total of four, USB 3.0 ports, an HDMI and a display port, so it will support dual monitors if you want to hook them up like that, and our power jack right here. And if you want to lock that down, if you're in a common environment, I guess there's a Kensington lock, and that's just the exhaust port for the fan. So it does come with a good amount of ports on it for your $179. And just talk a little bit about what it is. It's about 3 pounds. I think it's 2.9 pounds. The fit and finish of it is very nice. It does feel very solid. Of course, it's pretty small anyways. It's a 2957U processor, and that's a Haswell processor. It clocks in at 1.4 gigahertz. Doesn't have a turbo, but it is a more robust processor than the Baytrails that we've been looking at. For example, the laptops, a lot of them contain the N2840 dual-core processor, and that clocks in at, I think it's 2.16 gigahertz, and it'll turbo boost up to just under 2.6 gigahertz. So the clock speed of this Haswell processor, which is a dual core, by the way, is a lot lower than those Baytrails, but it's a little chunkier, a little beefier in terms of how it does its processing. So it also contains in that processor an Intel HD graphics, and its clock rate is about 200 megahertz to 1 gigahertz. Now, that starts a little lower and goes a little higher than the Baytrails we were looking at, so we'll see how that plays out in terms of games. It is a 15-watt CPU, so it's a little bit more power hungry than those the Baytrails we've been looking at. In terms of what it comes with, it is a 2 gig RAM machine, and those are using 1600 megahertz DIMMs, and there's 2 slots in there. So if you want to upgrade, to throw another 2 in there at a minimal cost, you'll get 4 gigs out of the thing. But it will support up to 16. So you can upgrade it very, very easy. And it contains a 32 gig SanDisk M2 SSD. Now this, unlike the tablets and the laptops, the Baytrails we've been looking at, these aren't the eMMC SSDs. These are actually considerable speed on them. And the M2s, if you know anything about them, if you've seen them, they kind of look like little memory sticks. So anyways, you can upgrade that too. It does just slide out of the slot. And if you want to, let's say, get a 128 gig, for example, M2 SSD, that'll cost you around $90, I think. So the potential to upgrade is there. And it's running the 64-bit version of Windows. So once again, if you do upgrade, you can go up to 16 gig and make full use of that. So anyways, without further ado, let me plug this in and we'll take a look at it right there. All right, first we're going to do the test for 1080p videos, multiple 1080p videos, rather, playing at the same time. And I'm using Explorer. I know a lot of you like other browsers, and so do I, but that's what comes with the machine, so we start with that. Anyways, as you can see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tabs open. They are all 1080p, if you can see by our little HD designation down there, 1080p. And I am kind of reaching the limits of my internet connection here, so we'll just kind of pull this up briefly. But just to show you that they are all 1080p. And we'll just start them all.
Now, gentlemen, are you familiar with this game? You played Mortal Kombat before, any version?
and just look for any stutter.
I'm a button master for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. It's a technique. Go like this, then like this. That's looking dirty. All right, stop it. Don't do that. Just keep it clean. This is a show primarily for children. You guys are in my dojo now. By dojo,
So as you can see, we've got smooth video play at 1080p for 6 tabs open. So that's pretty good. This is the corner by Brian Clueless Gamer, and it's kind of a funny bit if you ever watched it. So, anyways, that's it. Looks like it passes with flying colors with the multiple 1080p video playback. And from here on, we're going to go on to another test.
All right, here you guys go. And I'm from Buffalo. He's from Buffalo. You guys are about to murder each other, and you're having a nice. Where are you from, Chad? It doesn't fit with what you're doing at all. Here we go. I'm trying to. Oh, you knocked the guy off his back. Off the back. Oh, all right, that's good. Now you're kicking him in the shin. Oh, there's got to be a league rule about that.
Running HD Tune Pro version 550, the benchmark on the installed SanDisk 32 gig M2 SSD, and as you can see, if you can see there, the minimum transfer rate we were getting is 258.1 megs a second, and the maximum access was 296.5 megs a second. So our access time was 0.297, just under 0.3 of a millisecond, and our burst rate is 20.6 megs a second. So pretty decent. It's a SATA 3, 6 gig a second device. So nice and fast, and it's just too bad it wasn't bigger than 32 gig. But it is upgradable, and these M2 SSDs are fantastic little devices. So, and as I said, if you wanted to upgrade it to, let's say, 128 meg SSD, that'd probably cost you around $90. So kind of pricey, but at least the possibility is there. Now next, we're just going to run a quick little test on the SD card. And I will tell you that the SD card does not sit flush. It sticks out like a sore thumb. I'm not sure if you can see it there. After we do the test, I'll pop the camera close so you can see how horrible it is. But anyways, we'll be right back. Test on the Samsung 64 gig memory card. It's a micro SD memory card in a standard SD adapter. And as you can see, we get pretty close to what's advertised on the card. A lot better than what we looked at in the laptops anyways. Maximum transfer speed of 38 megasecond, and the average is 37.1. So the minimum was 34. So not too bad. But what I will say is the way HP has designed this, it's don't even think of using an SD card as an additional drive. It's absolutely pointless. Let me just take the camera, hold on to your socks here while I move this. If you can see how this sits out the side, that point, just terrible. So very, very bad marks for HP on that. What I'm going to do with this is, because we've got a number of USB 3.0 ports, I'm going to get an external USB 3 hard drive, 2.5-inch size for it, and I think I will use that. That, to me, is probably the most economical way to expand the storage on it. And it'll just sit on top of a tiny little drive. I think it'll be good. And maybe I'll do a little video dedicated to that later on. Anyways, that's it with the disk transfer speeds. Let's move on to something else. Peacekeeper test, and we're going to try it on the most common browsers, which is Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Explorer, of course. So I know I usually do this on the machines, just to give you some idea of which browsers perform best on certain platforms. And yeah, so this is an HTML5 test as part of the Future Mark, which, you know, that suite does a lot of the testing for video games, which I don't do synthetic testing for video games because it doesn't really represent what you're going to see on the screen. So, anyways, we test with games. So, anywho, we'll return back once in a moment once this is actually done a lot of its testing, and we'll see which browser turns out to be the winner on the Haswell platform here, and then we'll move on to something else. All right, be right back. We are done with the HTML5 browser test, and the results are we've got Internet Explorer 11 with 1354. And as you can see, that's above the iPad 4th Gen, and followed by, this is Chrome, and we've got 2015, and again, above the 4th Gen, probably about more than double it, so not bad. And the big winner here is good old Firefox, and this is version 37 and 2407. So that's our fastest browser on this platform. Okay, and let's continue on with the new test. I'll be right back. All right, we're back, and this is what we're all about, is gaming. So we're running the Tomb Raider benchmark on the HP Stream Mini, and this is set to 800 by 600 just for comparative purposes. We looked at the Baytrails earlier on, and if you recall, the laptops were getting, I believe we had maximum frames per second of 25, just above 25 frames a second in this test with 800 by 600 in the same low settings with medium textures. And we also had an average FPS of 19. So we are hitting significantly higher than that. We'll just have a look, see where we're at when we end up. All right, our minimum frames per second is 28, the maximum was 42, and our average frames per second with the 800 by 600 and the low settings with medium textures was just under 36. So what I'll do is we'll up this to the top resolution I would consider playing anything at with a machine like this, which is 720p. And a little bit more difficult for it, but we'll see where we end up. As you can see, we are taking a much bigger hit there. Start the benchmark. With the added graphics power on here, we should probably see, I'm going to guess, around the same frame rates as 800 by 600 on the Baytrail platforms. Tomb Raider is a particularly hard engine on low-end processors. A lot of nice post-processing effects. You can see it looks very nice. Anyways, we'll let it go and we'll see where we end up. All right, so there we go. Now, minimum frames per second, if you can see that, that is 4, and I do have VSync off just to maybe see if we can get a little bit higher. Our maximum was 26, and the average was 21.7, so just a little bit below 22 frames per second. So it is pretty much at 720p, running with the same performance, perhaps a little bit better, as the Baytrails. We were looking at the N2840 at 800 by 600. So you do get significantly more performance out of this little $179 box than you do with the laptops we were looking at. So thanks for watching. We will maybe just do one more benchmark with BioShock Infinite, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so here we are with the BioShock Infinite test. And what I'm going to do is run it at 800 by 600 because that's what we've tested on Baytrails and see what we get. And we will also run it at 720p. Now, I'm going to pick the user setting here because I've got it as very low, but I've turned up or off a couple options that don't normally turn off when you select the very low. So still, it is a bit of a tough engine. It uses the Unreal Engine that's modified, and it is kind of tough on low-end systems as well as Tomb Raider is. So let's just go with custom, and we'll pick 4x3 and number 2, which is 800 by 600. Now, Fraps is still running. You'll see it up in the corner, and we'll see what we get out of it. This one is loading off a memory stick, by the way, so it's a little bit slow. Once again, VSync is off, so there is screen tearing. It is particularly noticeable in this game. Now, if you can hear the fan winding up, it's a little bit loud. There is an internal fan. Of course, the little Haswell processor in here runs a little warm, so it's going to require more fan output than the Baytrail laptops we were looking at, which hardly make a sound. All right, so let's have a quick look. And it looks like we were getting our overall frame rate of an average of 35 frames per second, 35.67. And the minimum was about 14, and the max was 91. So minimum and maximum, I mean, you'll hardly see that throughout the game. So for the most part, you're looking at about 35 frames per second, and that is using 800 by 600. So it was significantly lower than that. I believe we're getting about 19 or 20. I will check and put it up on the review when we do that for the 2840. But we'll do it one more time with 720p, 16:9, and 720p. So this should significantly drag it down, but we'll just see. Now, pay no attention to the screen there. I know it says 1360 by 768, but um, that's just the way the TV works. Once again, we're looking at a black screen. And yeah, what I've done is I've used a USB, it's not even USB 3, 64 gig stick to load some of these things on, just because it's a lot more portable than the, I don't like using that micro SD card that hangs off the side, looks like it's going to snap off. All right, so here we are at 720p, and overall we're looking at 22. The low was about 9 frames per second, and the highest was 46. So it is a little lower. I did look at the results from the N2840 at 800 by 600. So it doesn't quite match up to the performance at 800 by 600 as we saw with Tomb Raider, but still, it's good. You can probably pick 1024 by 768, which will bump that the frame rate up and the quality up as well. So, anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll just have the wrap up at the end, and that's it. Be right back. Right, so there you have it. Little review of the HP Stream Mini, and I gotta say, for 179 bucks, it's not too bad. I mean, it comes with a full version of Windows. It's upgradable. You can upgrade the RAM, the SSD. Got tons of ports, and it's low powered, pretty capable. For a while, people have been looking to get an HT PC to stick by their TV, and this would probably fit the bill. It does play some games. I don't know if it would play a lot at 720p. Certainly, some of the older ones. If we look at, we'll be taking a look at Skyrim, and of course, the Fallout series would be fine playing in full 720p on this thing. So it does seem pretty capable. I am impressed with this. By the way, it's just a little WebGL demo running in real time. So I'd try and pick that just for the wrap up kind of thing. So yeah, I've got to say I'm impressed with it for the cost, and storage would be an issue. And like I say, I'm going to get an external USB 3 2.5-inch drive and use that for storage rather than upgrading the internal SSD. And we'll just do a little video and we'll run some benchmarks on that and see how it performs with games. So anyways, thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned. We'll be doing more game videos on this little box, and we'll see what kind of performance we get out of it. All right, thanks so much. All the best, and we'll talk to you soon.